Scheduling is a key part of any law firm operation. And if now you or your staff members are doing it manually, then you're really wasting your time. Now, thankfully, there are a lot of great solutions in the market. And in this video, I'm going to talk about Lawmatics scheduling. I'll talk about all the different features that it has and also compare it to Calendly, the gold standard of calendaring and scheduling on the market. I'll then compare the two so you can make the best choice of what would be the best option for your firm using the inbuilt Lawmatics scheduling that you're already paying for if you're using Lawmatics CRM or integrating Calendly into your tech stack. Let's get going. Hey there, my name is Martin Kravchenko and I'm the CTO at Swans, where we help growing law firm owners optimize their business operations and technical systems to free up the owner's time and also scale the firm. Let's kick things off with looking at what features the inbuilt scheduling solution of Lawmatics provides. Essentially, with this feature, you'll be able to create appointment types and define different settings for it, such as buffer times, how often do you want to be having these appointments, what would be your availability, connect it to your calendar, and then allow either your PNCs to book through those links, or actually for your staff members to have an intuitive interface where, as they're, for example, speaking on the phone with a client, they can then schedule the person in for an appointment with one of the staff members. Let's jump actually into Lawmatics and see what you need to in order to set this up. The first step that you'll need to complete is go into your firm settings and then locations and set up all the different locations where you expect to have these meetings, right? So this, for example, could be your office. If you then want to add the address of the physical office, then you can do this over here in addresses, and then simply when you're setting up the location, select the associated address. You can have, for example, a phone call. And in case you are offering Zoom meetings, you can either enable, let's say, a manual Zoom option over here. The issue there is you'll need to actually create that Zoom meeting separately, or you can simply integrate Lawmatics with Zoom and it will enable this option over here. In case you want to do this, you can go into integrations, select Zoom, connect to your account, and that will then automatically enable Zoom meetings for your user account. After you have defined the locations, we can then define the different appointment types that we are going to have available in our system. We can do so by going into appointments/events over here and then appointment types. By default, you will already have this initial consultation appointment type set. What you can do with it is you can change the default duration in minutes that it's going to have, and then you can add any further appointment types. You'll just need the name as well as the default duration in minutes. After you've defined the appointment types on this page, I would recommend that you set up the confirmations, reminders, and also the cancellations/no-show notifications. On these pages, you'll be able to define a new essentially notification that will go out to the PNC or to your client. You'll be able to choose from which address you want to be sending it. That can be either a static address that you're going to define here, or one of your team members, the appointment to the event host, or one of the roles that you have defined on your matter. You'll be able to define the subject line, so for example, initial consultation starting soon, the body of the text. Here as well, you can use all of the fields that you expect to be able to use in any email template in Lawmatics, such as different matter fields, contact fields, information about the appointment, right, such as date, location, etc. You also have the option to then enable that notification additionally as an SMS, not only an email. And then in here, you'll be able to define for which appointment types you want to enable that notification. If you want to specify the different practice areas, right? So for example, if we only want this to be sent out for estate planning, we can do so over here. Or if you want all of them, we can just add all. And finally, if you also want to specify it by allocation, right? So for example, you want different reminders or confirmations for your in-person appointments versus phone or Zoom appointments, then you can also do it over here. And instead, if you want a more generic one, you can just disable this option. Now, appointment confirmations will be sent out to the PNC as soon as they book the appointment. Then obviously appointment reminders are sent out periodically before the appointment starts. And in here you can also then choose when you want to deliver that reminder, be that 1 hour before, 1 day before, etc., as you would need it. And you can also define as many reminders really as you need. And finally, appointment cancellation / no-shows will be sent in case either the appointment is either cancelled or you mark it in your system as a no-show. And again, it has all of the very similar options to what we have seen on both confirmations and reminders. Once we have set up the locations, appointment types, and then the different emails that will be going out as reminders or confirmations to the PNCs, we have finished setting up the settings on the admin level of things, and we'll now need to actually modify on a user-by-user basis the settings for that particular person, right? For the persons that we're gonna be booking these appointments with. And so this, again, we can do on a user-by-user basis, going to calendar settings over here under user settings. So the person will be asked to connect their calendar, for example, Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, and once they have done that, they will be able to define a lot of their settings over here for how they want their availability to be configured. First of all, they'll be able to choose to which calendar, right, inside of their calendar connection, they want to sync the appointments to, and also from which calendars they want to pull the availability, right? So for example, imagine you have the personal calendar, then you have the work calendar, then you have, for example, Clio Manage or your case management system calendar. You can pull availabilities from all of them to make sure that you don't have any conflicts as people are booking appointments with you. After that, you'll be able to define your general working hours and availability over here with as well quite a lot of granularity. Apart from scheduling the working hours, you'll also be able to define a lunch hour over here if you so wish. Additionally, you can then define what if you want two-way sync or just one-way sync. Essentially, what this will change is if an appointment is booked through Lawmatics, if you then make updates to that appointment inside of your calendar solution, right, inside of Google, inside of Outlook, will that change be synced back to Lawmatics, right? If the two-way sync is enabled, that will be the case. In case it's disabled, only changes that you make in Lawmatics will then update the event in Google Calendar or the Outlook calendar. In no case, any appointments booked outside of Lawmatics will actually be synced to the CRM. Then you can define what time you want to have as the first available booking slot for any appointments. So this could either be, for example, same day, next day, a week from now, or any custom option that you would want over here. Buffer time, i.e. what would be the minimum time in between the appointments. What would be the roll-in period, i.e. how much in advance can people book an appointment with you. The start interval, i.e. the frequency of the slots available, right? For example, every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes. And then you can also over here, for each appointment type that you can define again on the admin level, you can then define specifically some different settings to what you have defined above over here, right? So these are more of, let's say, your general settings. And then for each one of these appointment types, let's say, you have special requirements for your initial consultation, you can define more granular settings for each one of them, such as limited number of bookings, and again, setting up all of those settings that I just talked about specifically for that meeting or appointment type. So once you have connected the calendars and finished setting up all of those settings for all the staff members that will be accepting appointments in your firm, you can book these appointments through three main ways. First one is you do it internally. For example, as you're on the phone with the client, you schedule an appointment on behalf of the person. Then you can request an appointment for a specific matter in PNC in your CRM. Or the third option is you have a link, for example, available on your website, or that you send to all of your PNCs, where they can choose themselves the time that they want to book with your firm, and also actually potentially choose the different appointment types that you may have available. Now, let's go through them step by step. So first of all, about scheduling an appointment internally, how this works is whenever you are on a client matter or a client contact or on a matter record in Lawmatics, you'll have this schedule appointment button over here. You can just click over here. You'll then be able to select the appointment type that you want to schedule the person for. If you want, you can update the display name that they're going to see on the calendar invite and in the email notification. You can choose the meeting host or hosts. So if there are several of them, both of those people will be included. If you want, you can add any additional entities, be that, for example, a translator or, for a family member of the PNC. You can either make it a Zoom meeting, in which case we will automatically generate that Zoom meeting link and add it to the event. Or you can choose one of the other locations that you have defined. And then you can either book manually, just saying, the start date and the end date without checking for availability, or actually first check the availability of that person, through the calendar connection that they have set up, and then choose the time that you would want over here. You can then also add an appointment description, which the person will see on their calendar invite and email, if you want to send reminders, and if you also want to send them the calendar invite. Once you click create appointment, it will create that appointment and add it to the matter. The second option is clicking on this request appointment button over here. In this case, what you're going to do is you have kind of a similar setup over here where you choose the appointment type, the host or hosts. You can choose all of different locations that will be available to the PNC to book from. And again, you have the email body, appointment description, what would be the length of that appointment, if you would allow them to reschedule, allow them to add additional attendees, and if there will be any reminders. And so what this will do is we'll send them an email with a link, which they'll be able to click on, and then choose, first of all, the location if there are multiple options, and then also the time that works best for them. Again, as soon as they book, that will be added over here directly to the matter, and they'll get all the appropriate reminders that you defined for that appointment type. And probably one of the most powerful ways of booking appointments through Lawmatics is then the booking forms, the third way. If you go under assets, booking forms, you'll be able to find these. And essentially, this looks quite similar to what you expect from a custom form in Lawmatics, but then also allows to simultaneously, for the PNC or for your client, to book a meeting with your team. Now let's look how this works. So first of all, at the top over here, you'll have this booking request. You'll be able to define in here either one appointment type or several. In case you define several, the person will be able to choose which appointment type they want to be booking for. Who will be the meeting hosts? And then you can define one or multiple hosts over here and then show the availability that they have, either when all of the hosts are available or any of the hosts are available. If then combined with this option of allow client to change meeting hosts, you can really make it so that they're allowed then to only book with one person, and if you have, for example, multiple people that, let's say, are doing intake, maximize the availability for your PNCs. Also, you'll be able to choose which location option you want to have available. Again, if you choose multiple, the person, the booking through the form, will be able to choose which location they want to have the meeting. Again, as previously, you can also append a schedule link and also send a calendar invite, allow the PNC to add additional guests. Once you have defined the settings, you'll then also be able to add any number of questions that you want to ask to the PNC, right? So there could be some basic information such as first name, last name, the email, and then also any of the other fields available on the matters on the contacts in Lawmatics, including any custom fields that you have defined, right? So for example, in this case, I have defined the source field and renamed it to how have you found out about our firm, so then the PNC can immediately then put their information on the form. Obviously, once the form is submitted, it will automatically as well update their matter in the CRM with that value, so that, again, you're collecting and storing all that information from the get-go. For any of this question as well, you can make them required as well. Additionally, if you want to collect payments for any of these bookings, you can then also enable Lawmatics payments and additionally collect payments in addition to just this information. So let's look at how it would be in practice, right? So let's click Save and Preview. Considering we have defined multiple event types, the person will be able to choose which one they want. They'll be able to choose their location, choose their time, and in the case that we would have selected the option of allowing them to change the host, they'll also be able to then choose one or multiple hosts that they want to have this meeting with. And finally, fill out the form and fill out any of the other questions we've defined. Once they book, again, automatically that will be added to the CRM. If there isn't yet a matter record for that particular email address, then Lawmatics will automatically create it, right? So that, for example, if you have this on your website, those PNCs will be automatically created in your CRM, triggering as well any other automations that you may have defined for any new prospects. Now, how do you actually embed it then onto your website? Very easily, go back to Booking Forms, click here, embed snippet, and you'll just need to add this code to your website editor to make it display on your website. Now then, before we move on to Calendly and the comparison, a few worthwhile mentions of how you book appointments through Lawmatics. There are really quite a few. You can also do this through automations, right? So in any of the automations, you can also request an appointment from the PNC or your client, either with a manual booking request or by selecting one of those booking forms that we have created and sending that to the PNC with either a standard email or one of the email templates that you have defined. In addition to that, as well, one last way that you can as well book appointments in Lawmatics is if you go to your appointments/events, in here you also have this share icon. So if you click on it, you can then choose the appointment host, choose already the location you want to have available, again, either multiple or make it a Zoom meeting, and then choose if you want to, apart from taking the first name, last name, and email of the client, also get their phone number and address, and then copy this link and paste it, for example, in one of your email templates, or again, put it on as a link on the website. Now, this is kind of like a more basic version of booking forms, and so really, I think using booking forms is the preferable option in most cases, but just know that this option as well is available over here. Now let's have a look at the comparison between Lawmatics and Calendly and when Lawmatics scheduling may fall short. First of all, for the pros. Really, Lawmatics scheduling has all the basic functionality that most law firms would need. I have already gone through all the settings. Again, what other things that you can do is, for example, mark these appointments as no-shows, as well trigger automations based on that. And so it really does provide a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can set things up. It is very easy to set up, and there's also no integration needed, right? As it is directly embedded into the software, everything becomes so much easier in terms of, as well, for example, enabling those booking forms, collecting extra data on those appointment bookings, and immediately as well updating those records in the CRM. Really, you cannot make it easier than that. It can be used in various places, right? So you have those manual bookings, you have the forms, you have the links. It does provide you a lot of functionality in terms of how you can be booking these appointments. It can be used as well within the built-in Lawmatics automation, which is really a big plus. And additionally, it has some extra features, like, for example, ability to manage events, right? So appointment types are for one-on-one meetings, right? Or, for example, meetings with just a few people hosts in your law firm. And another great feature that Lawmatics offers is also the ability to manage events, such as webinars. So this won't be one-to-one. This will be group events that your firm is organizing, where you can create, again, those sign-up pages and as well be managing all of that within Lawmatics directly. Again, triggering potentially automations based off that and having all of that information unified within one single platform. And obviously, worth mentioning, this is already included in your Lawmatics subscription at no extra cost. So obviously making use of it is a great plus. Now let's look at when Lawmatics may fall short as compared to Calendly. And this is really talking more about these more advanced use cases. So first of all, there is no round robin, right? What does round robin mean? Essentially, imagine that you have, let's say, you're a bigger firm, you have 5 intake people that are accepting new initial consultations, and instead of having the client, right, or the PNC manually choose which meeting host that you want, right, which is really not ideal. You want to automate that process, right, and you want them to simply be able to choose a slot on the calendar, and the system on the back end will choose the right person, depending on their availability, depending on their priority. That's what's called round robin, and Calendly has that feature. It's quite intuitive. You can define multiple hosts that would be available for a particular event type, and then you can define round robin settings, right? So here you can have different distribution methods, either to maximize availability or to optimize for equal distribution. And also for each one, you can define different priorities. So this is something that Lawmatics doesn't yet have. And obviously, if you're running a bigger firm and do have that more advanced requirement, that's again where Lawmatics would fall short. Another great feature that Calendly offers is routing forms. So obviously we have the booking forms in Lawmatics. However, we cannot really have conditional logic that dependent on the answers that the person gives us, if we want to redirect them to one appointment type or another, right? Imagine that could be, for example, kind of like a qualification form that you have on your website, right? Where they need to answer a certain set of questions based on their case. And depending on their answers, you want to direct them to one person, another person in the law firm, or maybe just tell them like, hey, we cannot help you, right? So you don't even have to then waste your time deleting the event from your calendar and communicating back to them. This is a great feature that Calendly offers called routing forms. So you'll be able to define a form on your website with a set number of questions, and then depending on those answers, in conditional logic, route them to either a specific appointment or tell them that you cannot help them. And lastly, Calendly offers more advanced and granular admin controls, right? So obviously, we have been able to define the different appointment types and reminders on an admin level in Lawmatics, but really for all the other configurations, i.e., for example, the working hours, the buffer times, rolling periods, etc., these need to be defined on a user-by-user basis, which again, if you're running maybe from 50 people, that's not really ideal. That's where Calendly comes in with more advanced admin management capabilities, where you can define managed events on the admin level, on the system level, and then distribute them to the right people in your team so that those events could be booked with that particular person. And in here, you can then define, again, all of the different details on that particular, let's say, appointment type, including all of those settings in terms of the rolling periods, buffer times, etc., 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 and then either allow the assignees to these events to edit those settings, or actually to disable that and make sure that you have a uniform setup across all of the different appointment types, across all of your users. That's something that, again, Lawmatics doesn't provide at this point in time, so you'll need to do some more manual setup and really make sure that those settings are synchronized in between the different users of your system. Now, obviously, the big negative of using Calendly is that they need to integrate it manually into Lawmatics. That is still possible, right? You can do it via Zapier or Make.com automation platform so that whenever a new appointment is booked, rescheduled, or canceled in Calendly, it then creates an appointment inside of Lawmatics, and then potentially as well triggering any inbuilt Lawmatics automations that you have also built. But again, that's an extra step that you need to do, and you need some more technical expertise to be able to do that, to set up that automation between Calendly and Lawmatics for any new bookings. And obviously, lastly, the Calendly actually has an extra cost to it. If you would want some of these more advanced features such as round robin and routing forms, then we are talking about $20 per seat per month additional that you need to pay. So it's an extra cost to consider. Again, from our perspective, I would say that unless you really, really need some of these extra features, Lawmatics does a fantastic job and would cover all of the bases required to set up appointment scheduling for your firm. Again, in between all the different manual booking options and then also the booking forms that you can embed on the website. I hope that you have enjoyed this deep dive into Lawmatics schedule and the comparison to Calendly. If you have any questions, concerns, please let me know. I would be very happy to help out. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more content like this, and have a fantastic day.